I'm Bernard Brennan. I graduated from the Department of Neurobiology and Behavior with a PhD in 2005. I'm currently a community organic farmer. I found NB&B incredibly intellectually inspiring. I couldn't believe I was getting paid to play in the field and come to lunch bunch on a weekly basis and have smart people around to really discuss science. And so I came into this. How far back do I go? I was actually a Cornell undergrad, and was looking at physics and history as a dual major. Ended up with just a history degree, and really didn't have a biology background. But then I serendipitously hopped on a ship heading for the Galapagos, and they were studying sperm whales. So it was an adventure, a cause I believed in, and scientific pursuit. After doing that for a few years and leading a National Geographic expedition, I said, I need some credentials because I can do this better than the ones giving direction. So I came here taking my physics background and acoustics with an interest in animal communication. And of course, Chris Clark at the Lab of Ornithology was a natural choice for both bioacoustics and whale work. And I spent my first couple of years here working on sperm whales. And I'd say I'm restless or crave some diversity. There's always little side projects going on. One of them happened to be on social paper wasps as what might even be called a rotation. It wasn't formally that, but the practicality and expenses of working on whales within a PhD where I could actually do experiments became more and more obviously limiting, and being able to manipulate insects was easier. And I ended up doing my PhD on vibrational communication within social paper wasps, and it's a fascinating interaction between adults and larvae, talking a lot about how to distribute food and digest things differently. And it kind of falls under the rubric. If you look closely enough, watching the grass grow really is interesting. I went from being a field biologist to then bringing these animals into the lab because it was food related. I can control their food. I was also doing side projects with some of my math background and modeling evolution, specifically what I was doing, and then thinking more broadly, and ended up doing my postdoc really about modeling evolutionary systems in greater complexity. I gained a lot from sort of the core courses. I had to take neurobiology and really appreciated that. I went to many of the talks and seminars in the neuroethology side of things. I didn't do any neural recordings, things like that. But I hope, I believe I gained enough understanding of the tools used in deciphering mechanisms to at least begin to collaborate in a more integrative way between organismal field biology and the underlying mechanisms that are so important to it. So I would say another serendipitous side project. Even when I was here in Ithaca, I got involved in the farmers market, and then a CSA, and said, "Ooh, this is a really nice way to get better food, grow community." Started my own garden. I moved to Yale and started a CSA there, and it blossomed. I do think there's a large role of serendipity. Maybe you want to call it opportunism. Luck favors those prepared. Following my interests, a diversity of interest, applying a lot of the tools I used here, but I got into farming because that really, in the end, is most satisfying to me personally from really head, heart, and hands. I chose to move away from academia. I don't know if you want to go here. I chose to move away from academia because I found for me it really had to be an all or none game, and I wanted to do other things. Even when I was writing my dissertation, I'd go build a stone wall. So I like the physical labor. I was an athlete. I like the intellectual complexity of it, but I also like doing something that I truly believe in passionately and is good for me to do and good for some wider cause, if you will. And I find farming really supplies all of that and gives me a level of independence where I can be my own boss, and a level of economic independence where it allows me greater creativity. That said, I've taken an awful lot of teaching and experimental design into farming and asking more applied kinds of questions and giving seminars and hosting other experts to come and kind of use this as a living lab. So I haven't left my training behind. I've taken it with me into a more sustainable and relocalizing kind of lifestyle. Well, I started with the excitement of coming to NBNB because of certain experts in the field who were here. I found, like other people, that the cohort I was with were really dynamic part of my own teaching and learning. It's great to be around motivated, intelligent, capable people who are curious about the world. Let me say this another way. Particularly for people interested in animal behavior and evolution, there was a concentration of faculty here, which I didn't find in other places, and I hope continues to grow. Yes, and I can sort of chalk up those experiences which are more widely applicable. A focus on doing independent work, of tackling unknown problems as they come up, of learning how to teach, which is learning how to communicate with a broad audience. That's also part of learning how to learn. Critical thinking, avoiding a lot of pitfalls, designing good experiments, and being able to distinguish between sort of non-competing hypotheses gets rid of a lot of arguments which otherwise need not have. And I'd say another strength of the department by design is the integrative nature of it. It's not just what you do in a bubble, but it's imbuing greater significance to the evolutionary story, looking at it from a mechanistic, from a functional, to genetic, looking at looking at the greatest show on earth, nature, biology, with a diversity of tools, really brings things to life and brings greater understanding. And by practicing creating new knowledge in that, you can then go off and work on other kinds of projects.